They made us laugh uncontrollably for nearly 5 decades, but behind the scenes, these late SNL stars were dealing with private struggles of illness, addiction, and marital discord. Danitra Vance broke barriers when she joined SNL in 1985, as she was the show's first Black female cast member. Alas, she was often relegated to playing frustratingly stereotypical characters. She eventually poked fun at that reputation in a sketch in which she sang "I Play the Maids," a parody of Barry Manilow's "I Write the Songs." Ultimately, she chose to leave SNL after just 1 season. Afterwards, Vance tried to break into film, but she didn't find much success, though she did receive an NAACP Image Award in 1986. In 1990, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent a single mastectomy. She shared her experiences in a one-woman performance piece called The Radical Girl's Guide to Radical Mastectomy. Her cancer returned in 1993, and she died on August 21, 1994, at the age of 40. Michael O'Donoghue was a major contributor to the early days of SNL, as he served as the sketch show's original head writer when it premiered in 1975. He also even appeared in the first episode's first ever sketch, known as The Wolverines.
Next.
But behind the scenes, O'Donoghue had a rocky relationship with the rest of the staff. He was fired after season 3 for allegedly making sketches that mocked then NBC president Fred Silverman. He returned at the end of season 6 but was fired again. He ultimately returned again during season 11, but was soon fired once again. On November 8, 1994, O'Donoghue died of a cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 54. Though he died young, his comedic legacy remains strong. As his fellow SNL writer and romantic partner Ann Beats recalled in the book Live from New York, he wasn't very good at being the king. He was much better at being either the person plotting the revolution or the power behind the throne, telling the king what to do and think. I truly think you can say that without Michael O'Donoghue, there wouldn't have been a Saturday Night Live, and I think it's important to remember that. Jan Hooks made quite the impression on SNL viewers in the late 80s and early 90s, especially with her unforgettable impressions of Hillary Clinton and Sinead O'Connor. She joined the cast in 1986 and stayed on for 5 seasons. Perhaps her most notable recurring character was Candy Sweeney, one half of the singing Sweeney Sisters duo alongside Nora Dunn. Hooks and Dunn even performed in character as the Sweeneys at the 1988 Primetime Emmys. Hooks left the SNL cast in 1991, but she returned for several cameos in the next few years. Outside of SNL, Hooks enjoyed a steady sitcom gig on the last 2 seasons of CBS's Designing Women. Her movie roles included 1992's Batman Returns and 1998's Simon Birch, and in the 2000s, she delivered a memorable guest turn on the NBC sitcom 30 Rock. Her acting career began to slow down around this time, though. She was diagnosed with leukemia in 2009, though the disease did go into remission. However, she ultimately succumbed to throat cancer on October 9, 2014. She was 57. Cursing on the job can be cathartic, but it can also ruin your career. Unfortunately for Charles Rocket, his potty mouth led to him getting the boot from SNL. It all went down during the February 21, 1981 episode. That outing was hosted by Charlene Tilton of the primetime soap opera Dallas, and it included a parody of the Dallas episode Who Shot JR. When Tilton asked Rocket at the end of the episode how he felt about being shot, he responded,
"Oh man, it's the first time I've ever been shot in my life. I'd like to know who did it."
The moment may have prompted some laughs, but Rocket was fired soon thereafter. After his SNL stint, he appeared in a number of movies, including Dumb and Dumber and It's Pat, and he also had guest parts on a variety of TV shows. Then, on October 7, 2005, he was found in a field on his Connecticut property with his throat slit. It was determined that he'd killed himself. He was 56 years old. As one of the original SNL writers, Tom Davis was best known as one half of the comedy duo Franken and Davis. Alongside Al Franken, Davis has also been credited as the mastermind behind some of the show's most iconic sketches, including Theodoric of York, Nick the Lounge Singer, and the Coneheads. In 2009, Davis was diagnosed with head and neck cancer. Despite his deteriorating health, he managed to maintain his signature quirkiness until his final months, which he referred to as his de-animation. As he wrote in a blog post, "I try to embrace the inevitable with whatever grace I can muster and find the joy in each day. I've always been good at that, but now I'm getting really good at it." Davis died of complications from his cancer in his Hudson Valley, New York home on July 19, 2012. He was 59. Tony Rosato always had a knack for comedy, even before he joined the cast of SNL in 1981. After immigrating from Italy to Canada, he began appearing on the Toronto-based comedy show SCTV in the late 1970s. He would become one of 3 actors to join the cast of both of those iconic sketch series, the other 2 being Martin Short and Robin Duke. Rosato was also known for his impression of John Belushi on an episode of SCTV. He left SNL in 1982 to pursue other acting opportunities, with his credits including Lonesome Dove, LA Law, and the voice of Luigi on 2 animated Super Mario shows. Rosato died of a heart attack in his Toronto home on January 10, 2017, at the age of 62. The Second City Toronto remembered him on social media as a warm, wonderful, and extremely funny man, while adding, "In the last few years, Tony returned to Second City as a student and performer, sharing his wealth of experience, humor, and charm with our students. He was truly loved by the students and faculty with whom he shared a stage. Our condolences go out to his family, peers, and so many friends." Gilda Radner was one of the brightest lights in SNL history. During her 5-season run as one of the original cast members, she made an indelible mark with such characters as nerdy Lisa Loopner, hearing-impaired Emily Latella, and Baba Wawa, a comical riff on journalist Barbara Walters.
This is Barbara Wawa here to say farewell.
In addition to her time on SNL, Radner starred in a successful one-woman Broadway show called Gilda Radner, live from New York. That was where she met her first husband, G.E. Smith, who would later become the musical director of SNL. They would eventually divorce though, and she would go on to marry fellow actor Gene Wilder. In 1986, Radner was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It went into remission in 1988, but it eventually returned, and she died the following year on May 20th at the age of 42. The news of her passing reportedly broke during the rehearsals of that night's SNL episode, and the show paid tribute to her by re-airing an old sketch with her and Steve Martin. Gilbert Gottfried had perhaps the most unique voice in comedy history. He was perhaps less well known for his 1-season SNL stint, which lasted from 1980 to 1981. While that period didn't exactly immediately blast him to stardom, he would soon book some unforgettable roles, perhaps most famously the voice of Iago in Disney's animated movie Aladdin. His other movie credits included Mr. Peabody in the Problem Child franchise, and then he enjoyed a cushy gig as the voice of the Aflac Duck in the insurance company's commercials.
I want to return this duck!
After decades of a unique career, Gottfried passed away at the age of 67 on April 12, 2022, from recurrent ventricular tachycardia. His family posted a statement on Twitter that read, "We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our beloved Gilbert Gottfried after a long illness. In addition to being the most iconic voice in comedy, Gilbert was a wonderful husband, brother, friend, and father to his 2 young children. Although today is a sad day for all of us, please keep laughing as loud as possible in Gilbert's honor." The world became a lot less funny on September 14, 2021. That was the day that Norm Macdonald passed away after a private bout with illness. A native of Canada, Macdonald enjoyed a run on SNL from 1993 to 1998, which included 3.5 seasons as the anchor of Weekend Update. He also memorably impersonated the likes of Burt Reynolds, Larry King, and David Letterman. Before joining SNL, he honed his chops while writing for series like The Dennis Miller Show and Roseanne. Macdonald's management firm Brillstein Entertainment broke the sad news that he'd lost a lengthy battle with cancer at the age of 61. He'd kept his diagnosis private for 9 years, not even sharing it with many family and friends. His close friend and producing partner, Laurie Jo Hoekstra, told Deadline, he was most proud of his comedy. He never wanted the diagnosis to affect the way the audience or any of his loved ones saw him.
Stay safe, folks. I love you.
Phil Hartman's 8-season stint on SNL from 1986 to 1994 is often regarded by fans as one of the best in the show's history. He was a versatile actor who gave dimension to a wealth of everyday characters and delivered a range of memorable celebrity impressions, including Bill Clinton and Frank Sinatra. After leaving the cast after the end of season 19, he returned to host a couple of times in 1996. Hartman moved on to a steady film career and sitcom stardom on NBC's News Radio, but behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. It was so dark, in fact, that he was murdered on May 28, 1998, by his wife Bryn, who then killed herself. The two reportedly got into a fight, and Hartman retreated to their bedroom to de-escalate the situation. While he was asleep, Bryn fatally shot her husband multiple times. Police officers arrived at the scene, but their efforts weren't enough to stop her from turning the gun on herself. John Belushi was pretty much impossible to look away from during the first 4 seasons of SNL from 1975 to 1979. He often teamed up with his co-star Dan Aykroyd, particularly in the Blues Brothers sketches, which was adapted into a movie in 1980. Belushi left SNL to focus on his burgeoning film career, which included hits like National Lampoon's Animal House and flops like 1941. Off-screen, Belushi was getting up to a lot of risky behavior, so it wasn't terribly surprising when he died of an overdose of cocaine and heroin on March 5, 1982. He was only 33. Although ruled an accident, there was some suspicion of foul play on the part of his companion and drug dealer at the time, Kathy Smith, who was a former backup singer for the rock group The Band. Smith pleaded no contest to involuntary manslaughter and several drug charges and served a 15-month prison sentence at the California Institution for Women. Chris Farley commanded the attention of SNL viewers in every sketch he appeared in, even if he went a little too far at times. He joined the cast in 1990, and in the early part of that decade, he was the biggest personality among the group that became known as the Bad Boys of SNL. Farley's most loved recurring character was perhaps Matt Foley, a thrice-divorced motivational speaker who famously lived in a van down by the river. Farley left the cast in 1995 and quickly went on to movie stardom, but behind the scenes, he was struggling with drugs and alcohol. On December 18, 1997, he was found unresponsive in his Chicago apartment by his younger brother. An autopsy revealed that he had died just hours earlier from an accidental overdose of cocaine and morphine. Farley's poor health reportedly also played a role in his death, as atherosclerosis was cited as a significant contributing factor.
He was the best. We all loved that boy.
If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357.